Hey guys, my name is Parish, and today we're going to be straightening things out in Capture One. So the first thing we got to do is figure out where our keystoning is, right? So our keystoning is in the Lens Correction tab right up here in the Tool tab. Once you get there, you'll see that you have your lens corrections, you have your, fringing, your rotation, your flip, your keystoning, and your crop. Other way around. But yeah, you get the idea, right? So what we need to do is we need to first take our image that we need to keystone, and we're going to put a lens correction to it, because the way that I figure is if you don't correct your lens and you try to keystone something that's round, what it's going to do is probably go whoop, whoop, whoop. And I think some people that have asked me this question over and over again have kind of gone through that. So what we want to do is correct that before we make things straight. So we're going to straighten things out before we straighten things out, right? So yeah, anyways, you get the idea. You know what we're doing. So what I did is I shot this with a 50mm 1.4 at 3.2. You can go here to your lens profiles. You can show your recommended lenses so that you can see what Capture One recommends. And since I shot this with the Rokinon lens, they don't really support that, which is total BS. But anyways, since they don't support that, I have to pick either a generalized one, which shows up to be kind of bulgy looking. So, or what I did is, because I shoot on a Sony, I cheated a little bit and I put in my Sony lens at 1.4, because it's just a wish. I just wish I could afford Sony lenses. But it does a pretty good job. I figured matching the focal length and matching the sensor is better off than not doing any of that, right? And if you take your distortion knob and you put it up to 100, it does a decent job fixing it, right? So you can then analyze, which I don't necessarily know what this button does, but it analyzes, okay? So then you can see, instead of choosing the default, it then analyzes to your photo. So I kind of do that after every adjustment just to make sure. But as you can see, I shot it at 3.2, so we want to change this to 3.2. It matches the information in the metadata, so I figured it should then adjust even better. It might have been slight, who knows. So anyways, you have a little bit more room if you even adjust your distortion to 100 to do it even a little bit further, which I don't know exactly what that did. It did something minute. Otherwise, we can drop it here down to 0, and the bulge kind of comes back, which definitely looks better at 100. Boom. There you have it. So you'll have to find your profile, or you have to make your own. These little shift knobs, they shift your image up and down depending on the distortion, so I can actually calibrate even further. And as you can see, it's kind of adjusting for it. But I don't really know what those numbers are, so I'm just going to leave it at 0 at the moment. But I just figured I'd let you guys know that that's what you can do if you need more adjusting, right? So, moving on. We don't need fringing right now. Here's your flip and rotation. So if you click and hold this area, you will see that you can straighten. You can straighten, by hand, freehand? You can straighten freehand. You can rotate left and you can rotate right. So what I like to do is you can use the straightening tool just like you would in Lightroom. You just click your edge, bring it over to the other side, and click your other edge, and then it will straighten out your image. Pretty sweet, pretty simple, not too hard. So the hard part is not actually that hard, but you know what I mean. Some people are having challenges with this. So anyways, the harder part is the Keystone tool tab itself. You have your vertical, your horizontal, the amount, and your aspect ratio, right? What I have found is when I put up my Keystone levelers, what would you call them, lines, my keystone lines. Sometimes I get it off a little bit, and so the image skews, or the lens correction isn't corrected correctly. That's a tongue twister. And then it skews in a different direction, so you kind of have to play with it a little bit. You have to pick the right keystone for the job. So you have your vertical lines, you have your horizontal lines, and then you have both of them. You can also pick it from up here, right? So you can pick whichever one you want. You can hotkey it, whatever you want to do. It's up to you. So we have somewhat of a box here, right? Because it's a building, so we got square edges. So you want to just line up these edges here. And what you'll see is this line here is obviously really wonky. And if you were to apply that, then it would skew like majorly. What I do is I line my horizontal up and my vertical up. Kind of hard to see on the darker image, I suppose, but we'll do the best we can. That looks decent. So I'm just gonna hit OK and see what we get. I'm expecting it to not look super awesome, but let's see what we get. Okay, it looks kind of tall in my opinion. So I hit V and we'll get rid of the edges for you so you can see it a little bit better, and it looks ridiculous. To me it looks ridiculous. And you can turn on your guides here, kind of see, well, I guess we aren't that far off. So I've shot this building a few times, and the angle that it's at, I would need a tilt shift lens, obviously, because I can't keystone it, or I need to shoot extra wide. I wanted to create the image again with the 50mm because the image was on a TV show, and so I wanted to kind of reproduce it with my newer camera, because the first camera was an A7S, second camera was an A7R3, and I wanted a higher resolution, and I wanted to basically just recreate it, so that's what I did. Probably should have shot it wider. Probably should have shot it tripod, because this is all handheld. I probably should have shot it with the tilt shift, but I didn't. So this is what I get. So because of all that, I don't actually keystone it properly. I keystone it a little bit, but I don't go straight because I feel like it's too drastic of a shot. Because when you're looking at that distance up against the Capitol, you're kind of looking at that perspective anyway. So I don't like it perfectly, you know, mapped out to be, you know, like a box, right? So what I do is I actually just keystone it by hand. So you can just tab up and down the way you like it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be however you want, because it's your image. You can do whatever you want, right? So I do something like that, but it is a little bit skewed, or, you know, it's a little bit uneven, so I try to tap over. Something like that. So because I manually did that, I probably have to manually do this. Alright, so let's zoom into the stairs and let's try to measure the stairs up properly, right? You want to click and drag all the way over and try to match it up to the other side. So, and that looks pretty straight, not too bad, right? So I think you want to do that before you keystone your vertical. I don't know if you saw that, but when you go a little bit too far, you can start to see the image stretch a little bit and bulge. So I feel like right in here, yeah, I feel like that is going to be where I want to stop. Because I don't know if you can see, but it looks a little bit better to me. I don't know. And then I just do the horizontal, just notch it up a few times. And I feel like that is a better representation of this building than to, you know, make your keystone 100% straight, because it looks more unnatural to me. But if you were to go a little bit too far, then you can use this amount slider to bring it back a little bit. However, it does bring back all of the adjustments. So if you were to do vertical and your horizontal, if you were to reduce the amount, it will reduce the entire adjustment, right? And I'm not 100% sure if it will reduce the amount in the rotation. I never thought of that until now. So, and it looks like it does. So when you reduce the amount, it looks like it reduces your rotation or how you leveled out the image. But it could also be just the image adjusting itself. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check with Capture One to be able to really figure that out. But anyways, that's generally how I would keystone in an image, right? You hit V to kind of back out of everything, and there it is. You double check by hitting your guides, and it looks pretty good. Right here, this line in the middle going up the pole, it's almost dead on. If you want it dead on, you put it dead on. I'm good with that. A little bit wonky is okay with me because not everything is perfectly straight. But then we can go here. So I think this is the adjusted one. Yep, okay, so this is the unadjusted one, obviously. And this is what I did to Keystone, right? So I did this, I believe, with my horizontal and my verticals on, because you have your vertical and you have your horizontal here. So what I did is I put my verticals here on the end of this post. Now, I didn't show you this before, but if you want to zoom in, and when you select your keystone, you can actually tab over with your arrows and line it up just right. Now, one thing I want Capture One to do is hopefully be able to hit the tab button, and so it will jump to point, because when I go to my other point, and click on it, it moves it, right? So if I were to adjust the right hand side and I need to go back to the left for whatever reason, see it's a little bit off. So when I go back to my left one, I want to be able to tab over so I'm not clicking, because when I touch it, it moves it. I don't want it to move, right? So I have to kind of reset it. It's a little bit irritating, but I want to be able to tab instead of click. Got that? Cool. So just line them up though. Line everything up on your posts. Just like so. And there you have it on that pole. So it looks a little wonky, you know, whatever, I'm not perfect. So anyways, hope you liked the video. That's it for now. Go ahead and subscribe, comment, share if you like, and we will see you next time. Ciao.